Have you ever walked into a room and felt everything shift without saying a single word? Some people carry an energy so potent, so quietly intense, that others feel it before a word is spoken. Not loud, not flamboyant, but undeniable. You've likely met someone like that. Or maybe you are someone like that. You don't try to draw attention. In fact, you often avoid it. But still, people are drawn to you. They tell you things they've never said out loud. They cry in your presence, and don't know why. Some are healed, others get defensive. Your energy does something to people, and deep down, you've always sensed it. But what is this inner intensity, and why does it affect others so deeply? Dr. Gabor Maté, world-renowned physician and trauma expert, has spent decades helping people understand what lies beneath these unseen forces. He says that we all carry emotional imprints, invisible patterns shaped by pain, resilience, longing, and truth. And when someone carries a powerful inner energy, it's often because they've faced their own depths. They've metabolized suffering into presence, pain into perception. That presence becomes a field, a living, breathing force that others feel, and it affects them, even if they can't explain how. This video isn't just about energy in the mystical sense. It's about emotional resonance. It's about those whose inner fire is so strong that the world can't help but feel it. Sometimes with awe, sometimes with discomfort. If you've ever wondered why people react to you in extremes, love, admiration, resistance, or projection, you might be carrying a rare kind of intensity. And no, it's not about being too much. It's about being deeply alive in a world that's afraid of depth. Let's explore the 13 signs that your inner energy is so intense, it impacts those around you, through the lens of human truth, emotional intelligence, and the profound insights of Gabor Maté. I don't know why I'm telling you this. If you've heard this phrase more times than you can count, you're not alone. People seem to confide in you without hesitation. Even strangers. They share secrets, grief, dreams, or fears they haven't voiced in years. And they do it effortlessly, sometimes with a confused look on their face, as if wondering how it happened. This isn't coincidence, it's resonance. According to Gabor Maté, emotional safety is often nonverbal. People unconsciously sense whether another human being can hold their truth without judgment. Your presence, grounded, calm, unfiltered, gives off a signal. Here, you're allowed to be real. And in a world starving for authenticity, that signal is magnetic. You may not offer advice. You may not even say much. But your energy listens. Your eyes don't flinch. Your body language doesn't rush to fix. That's rare and deeply healing. Sometimes this ability feels like a gift. Other times, it feels like a responsibility you never asked for. People come to you not just because you're nice or empathetic, but because your energy has been forged in the fire of your own struggles. You've sat with your own pain, and that gives you a capacity to sit with theirs. In many ways, you serve as an emotional sanctuary, and others feel it, even when they don't understand it. But this, too, comes with its own cost, a theme we'll return to in later chapters. For now, know this. If people instinctively open up around you, it's not just about them. It's about the space your energy creates. And it's one of the clearest signs that you carry a powerful, transformative presence. One that touches others without trying. Some people brighten a room. Others stir something deeper. If your energy is intense, you've likely noticed that being around you seems to awaken things in others. Often emotions they've kept hidden, even from themselves. Anger, sorrow, longing, even shame. These feelings rise to the surface in your presence, like embers catching wind. It's not because you provoke, it's because you mirror. As Gabor Maté explains, we all carry unresolved emotional material from childhood, and life experiences, wounds that we suppress in order to function. But these emotions don't disappear. They live in the body, in the nervous system, in our behavior, and sometimes they emerge when we encounter someone who feels real, unguarded, or deeply aware. You may notice that people get reactive around you for no clear reason. They may feel triggered or suddenly vulnerable. Some lash out, others cry. Some just go quiet, as if struggling with something invisible. It's not your fault, and it's not always personal. Your energy, especially if you've done inner work, acts like emotional truth serum. Without trying, you make it harder for people to keep pretending. The masks slip, the stories unravel, and the raw, repressed emotion underneath starts to show. This can be both a gift and a challenge. The gift is that your presence helps people begin to feel again, to reconnect with parts of themselves they've numbed or denied. You become, unconsciously, a catalyst for healing. The challenge is that not everyone is ready for that. Some will project their discomfort onto you. Some will retreat. Others may accuse you of being too intense, when in reality, they're confronting their own buried pain. If this has happened to you, if you've ever left a gathering feeling like you just stirred the emotional pot without meaning to, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because your energy reveals, and that is powerful. But as we'll explore in later chapters, learning to protect your own emotional boundaries is just as important as honoring your gift. Crowds don't just tire you, they drain you. It's not about being shy or introverted. It's energetic. When you're in a space full of people, especially where emotions are high or chaotic, it can feel like your nervous system is absorbing everything. The tension, the anxiety, the social performance, the unspoken fears. And by the time you get home, you're not just tired. You're wiped out. This isn't weakness. It's sensitivity. And it's one of the clearest signs of a powerful inner energy. As Gabor Maté would say, when your own emotional system has been honed through trauma, reflection, or deep self-awareness, you become highly attuned to emotional cues, especially those that others ignore. You feel the undercurrents. You pick up what's not being said. You notice shifts in tone, body language, eye contact. You hear the truth behind the words. In one-on-one settings, this makes you an incredible listener, a comforting presence. But in crowds, it's overwhelming, because it's not just one nervous system interacting. It's dozens or hundreds, and your system is taking it all in, often without permission. This is why you may avoid big social events, why loud spaces make you anxious, why even joyful gatherings sometimes leave you feeling strangely heavy. And here's the key insight. It's not that you don't belong. It's that you haven't learned to protect your energetic field. Maté often emphasizes the importance of boundaries, not just physical, but emotional. When you carry an intense presence, you must learn to regulate the flow. You can't be open all the time. You can't hold everyone's emotional chaos. You're not a sponge. You are a soul, and your energy deserves protection. If crowds leave. You exhausted, take it as a message. You feel more than most. You carry more than most. And that means you need rest, solitude, and conscious rituals to recover. Because the world may be noisy, but your energy is sacred. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's what you don't say. You've probably noticed that your silence has weight. In group settings, your quiet presence can shift the atmosphere. Conversations change direction. People fidget, explain themselves more, or even avoid eye contact. Not because you're judging, but because your energy speaks louder than words. This kind of presence is rare and powerful. Gabor Maté teaches that the body carries truth, even when the mouth doesn't. And those who've done deep inner work radiate an authenticity that can't be faked. You don't need to speak to be felt. You are felt. When you stay silent, it's not passive. It's a kind of listening, deep, attuned, unsettling, because it creates space. And in that space, the truth begins to rise. Some people are drawn to it. They feel seen, heard, respected without a single word. Others feel exposed. Your silence reflects back what they're trying to hide, and not everyone is ready for that mirror. This can create tension. You've probably been asked, "Why are you so quiet?" or accused, "Are you judging me?" or told, "You make me nervous when you just sit there." But the discomfort isn't coming from you. It's coming from what you awaken in others. Your stillness disrupts the noise they use to cover their own inner chaos. This is the paradox. Your silence is loud. It speaks to the parts of people that they've tried to mute. It invites honesty or defensiveness. It holds space for truth or confrontation. If this resonates with you, know this: your quiet is not emptiness. It is depth. Your silence is not absence. It is presence. And in a world addicted to noise, that kind of presence is rare and often misunderstood. But don't shrink it. Don't apologize for it. Stillness is your strength. There's something polarizing about you. You've likely noticed this. People either want to elevate you or undermine you. They feel deeply drawn to your presence or deeply unsettled by it. There's rarely a neutral response. Why? Because intensity challenges people. It forces them to feel, to reflect, to question. Gabor Maté often speaks about projection, how people unload their inner wounds onto others without realizing it. When someone carries strong, authentic energy, they become a screen for these projections. To those who are hurting, your strength can feel threatening. Your depth can feel like judgment. Your calm may be read as arrogance. On the other hand, some people idealize you. They put you on a pedestal. They sense your insight, your emotional gravity, and they want to be saved by you, as if your energy could fix them, carry them, complete something missing inside them. Both dynamics, the admiration and the attack, come from the same root. You reflect something powerful that others have not yet made peace with inside themselves. Some people try to fix you, assuming you must be broken to feel so deeply. Others try to compete with you, as if your presence diminishes their worth. Still others project fantasies, turning you into a healer, guru, or emotional crutch. And all of it can be exhausting. But here's the truth. Their reactions say more about them than about you. Your job is not to be less so, others feel more comfortable. Your job is not to shrink your energy so others feel safe. Your presence stirs the waters, not to cause chaos, but to bring clarity. Maté reminds us, those who carry strong inner energy have often walked through fire. They've survived trauma, abandonment, grief. And in doing so, they've become mirrors, not because they want to be, but because they are. So if you felt misunderstood, rejected, or overly adored, know that it's not personal. It's energetic, and it means your presence is having an impact, even when others don't understand it. You walk into a room. Everything looks fine on the surface. Smiles, small talk, polite laughter. But beneath it, you feel something else entirely. Sadness, tension, loneliness, resentment. You don't know how, but you just know. This isn't about mind reading. It's emotional perception, a kind of internal radar that picks up what others are trying to hide, even from themselves. According to Gabor Maté, many people suppress their emotions as a survival strategy. From childhood, we learn to present a version of ourselves that's acceptable, even if it's disconnected from our truth. And over time, we forget what's real. We wear masks so long, we believe they are our faces. But you see through it. Or rather, you feel through it. You may have trouble enjoying shallow conversations. You struggle to just play along when something feels off. You find yourself sensing grief behind a smile, or anger behind passive politeness. You feel the unspoken tension in couples. You hear what isn't said in a friend's silence. This can be confusing, especially when others deny what you're sensing. You might ask, "Are you okay?" They respond, "I'm fine." But everything you knows that's not true. And here's the challenge. You often doubt yourself, because no one's confirming what you feel. You're picking up signals that others don't acknowledge, not because they're lying, but because they're emotionally disconnected. But your nervous system doesn't lie. Maté emphasizes that deep perception often comes from early environments where survival meant scanning for emotional cues. If you grew up needing to read the room to stay safe, you developed an exquisite sensitivity. Now, as an adult, that same gift allows you to detect what others can't or won't feel. It's a form of empathy, yes, but it's more than that. It's the ability to hold truth, not just facts, but felt truth. This makes you a powerful presence, but it also makes life harder when others live in denial. So if you often sense discomfort, tension, or truth that no one else is, naming you're not paranoid. You're just awake, and in a world full of numbed emotions that's both rare and deeply needed. You've likely seen it happen. A child locks eyes with you and just stares. Or maybe they come closer, without hesitation. Or cry, or suddenly act shy. Animals, too. They approach or avoid, or study you with curious stillness. Why? Because children and animals are still attuned to pure energy. They don't analyze your words. They don't care about your status, appearance, or story. They sense presence. And if your inner energy is intense, they'll feel it long before any adult does. Gabor Maté reminds us that the body keeps score, and children, especially, are finely tuned to energetic safety. If you've done emotional work, processed trauma, or cultivated self-awareness, your energy often emits a grounded, authentic signal. That draws them in. But if your energy is turbulent, even if unspoken, they'll sense that too. This makes your relationship to children and animals a kind of mirror, a test of alignment. You may find that animals follow you or sit at your feet uninvited, that babies stare into your eyes as if they've known you forever, that young children open up around you, or at times completely withdraw. It's not personal, it's energetic. And here's the deeper truth. Those who carry unresolved trauma but also presence tend to emit a complex signal. There's pain in your energy, but also healing. There's vulnerability, but also safety. And beings who haven't been conditioned yet, like children and animals, pick up on that paradox immediately. This is why your bond with them may feel unusually deep. You don't need to speak to connect. They respond to who you are, not what you perform. And often they trust you, instinctively. If this resonates, take it as confirmation. Your energy speaks even when you don't. And the most sensitive creatures in our world are already listening. You say something small, and it lingers in someone's mind for days. You share a personal truth, and it changes how someone sees their entire life. You simply exist, and something in others begins to shift. You don't plan it. You don't force it, but your presence activates people. Gabor Maté often speaks about the power of authentic presence as a healing force. When someone is deeply aligned with their inner truth, not perfect, not polished, but real, that energy can awaken what's dormant in others. Like a tuning fork, your presence resonates with something buried inside them. It might be the courage they've lost, a memory they've hidden, a longing they've silenced, a pain they've never named. Sometimes this looks like inspiration. People start writing, reflecting, reconnecting with themselves. Other times, it looks like chaos. Relationships break down, old wounds surface, confusion floods in. And you may be left wondering, did I cause this? No, you didn't cause it, but you catalyzed it, just by being who you are. There's a kind of soul electricity in you, a frequency that doesn't match the surface level patterns most people live by. And when someone encounters that, their own false layers begin to crack. Truth wants to emerge. This isn't about power. It's about permission. Your energy gives people unconscious permission to feel more, to want more, to heal more. That's why some people change after spending time with you, even if they never tell you, and why others may avoid you altogether, because they're not ready for the internal earthquake your presence might set in motion. But don't dim your light to protect someone else's comfort. You are not responsible for how others process their truth. You are only responsible for holding yours with integrity. Because every time you show up fully, honestly, vulnerably, intensely, you remind others what's possible. And sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. You walk through life with an invisible weight on your shoulders. It's not just your own pain you carry, it's the pain of others. The collective grief, the unspoken sadness in a friend's eyes, the suffering of strangers, the stories behind, people's silence. It all finds a place inside you. You don't mean to carry it, but you do, almost instinctively. Gabor Maté often talks about compassion fatigue, the deep exhaustion that comes when empathy turns into over-responsibility. Many who've experienced trauma in childhood learned early on to anticipate others' needs, to soothe chaos, to absorb emotional tension. These patterns don't just vanish, they become personality traits, and eventually, burdens. If you have intense inner energy, you may attract people in pain, and you want to help. Of course you do. You listen, hold, support, sometimes at the cost of your own peace. But here's the truth. You can't heal the world by breaking yourself. Feeling deeply is not a flaw, it's a gift. But without boundaries, even gifts become heavy. Maté reminds us that compassion must be paired with self-awareness. Otherwise, it turns into self-erasure. You begin to say yes when you mean no. You give until you're hollow. You hold space for everyone but yourself. This emotional labor often goes unseen. People thank you for being so strong, but inside, you're exhausted, and no one notices because you carry it so well. If this resonates with you, it's time to reclaim your energy. Not by closing your heart, but by protecting it. Not by caring less, but by discerning when, how, and for whom you show up. You are not here to be the emotional container for everyone else's wounds. You are here to live fully, not just to hold others together. So let yourself rest. Let yourself say no. Let yourself feel without fixing. Because the weight of the world was never meant to rest on your shoulders alone. Sometimes people look at you and get lost in thought. They pause mid-sentence. They suddenly grow quiet. They tell you, "You remind me of someone." Or they share a story from their past that seems to come out of nowhere. It's not accidental. Your energy stirs memory. Gabor Maté reminds us that memory isn't just mental. It's emotional, sensory, and often stored in the body. And when someone carries a deeply present, emotionally resonant energy like you do, it can act as a key that unlocks buried material in others. You become, without meaning to, a portal to someone's past. They may not understand why, but something about your tone, your eyes, your energy, it feels familiar. Not always in a comforting way. Sometimes it triggers grief, or shame, or wonder. But always, it reaches something deep. You may remind them of someone who hurt them, or someone who loved them purely and is no longer here. You may awaken a longing they've tried to forget, a piece of themselves they abandoned to survive, and they won't always know how to handle it. This is why people sometimes pull away after getting close to you, not because you did anything wrong, but because being near you activated something they weren't ready to face. You might become a symbol, a memory, even a projection of who they wish they could be. And again, this is not your fault. But it is part of the impact your energy has. Maté says, trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you as a result of what happened. Many carry those internal wounds untouched for decades, until someone with presence like yours comes along and shakes the dust off those inner rooms. If you've noticed people growing emotional, nostalgic, or uncomfortable around you without explanation, this is likely why. You don't have to fix it, or explain it, or take it personally. Just keep being real. Keep being grounded. Because in a world of amnesia, you help people remember who they are, even if just for a moment. It's not uncommon. Someone in the middle of a life collapse suddenly appears in your life. A stranger on a plane tells you about their divorce. A coworker opens up about their depression. A friend leans on you when everything falls apart. You're not trying to be a therapist. You're just there. And yet, people in crisis find you. Why? Because your energy carries something most people in pain are desperate for: depth without judgment. Gabor Maté teaches that during times of deep emotional disruption, illness, addiction, grief, trauma, the soul begins to search for resonance, not solutions, not pep talks, but presence. And if you carry intensity forged through your own healing, you become a kind of magnet for those on the edge of awakening. Your presence whispers, "I've been to dark places too, and I'm still here." You may not offer answers, but your eyes don't flinch when someone is raw. You don't bypass the pain. You hold space with something rare: truth, silence, and a calm that says, "You are safe to fall apart here." That is more healing than most advice. This is why you often find yourself in roles you didn't choose: the listener, the anchor, the mirror. You attract seekers, those questioning their lives, their beliefs, their past. Sometimes they mistake you for a guide. Other times they just need your presence to feel like they're not going crazy. But here's the warning: if you don't have clear inner boundaries, this can consume you. People in crisis carry intense energy, and if you're not grounded, their chaos can become yours. You start absorbing, fixing, rescuing. You forget where they end, and you begin. Maté emphasizes the importance of compassion with boundaries. Let your heart remain open, but don't let it be leaky. You can be present without becoming responsible. You can hold space without holding the weight. And you can be a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. So if people in pain are drawn to you, see it as a sign of your depth, not a life sentence of emotional labor. You are not here to save them. You're here to be real, and sometimes that's all someone truly needs. Solitude isn't a luxury for you. It's essential. After deep conversations, intense days, or emotionally charged spaces, you don't want more noise. You need to be alone, not out of avoidance, but to breathe, to return to yourself, to recalibrate your energy. People may misunderstand this. They might say you're distant, too quiet, even antisocial. But what they don't see is that solitude is where you reconnect with your center, where your energy gets filtered, cleared, and restored. Gabor Maté speaks often about the overstimulation of our modern world and how it disconnects us from our bodies, our needs, and our inner rhythms. For those who carry deep energy, this overstimulation becomes unbearable without intentional withdrawal. In solitude, your nervous system softens. You begin to hear your own thoughts again. You stop carrying what isn't yours. You may journal, Walk. Stare out the window. Sit in silence. These aren't meaningless acts, they are medicine. Solitude is where your insight deepens. It's where your inner fire rekindles, not for others, but for yourself. If you've ever felt guilty for needing time alone, don't. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation, because only when your energy is whole again can it truly offer light to others. You've felt it. That subtle tension in a room when you arrive, that forced smile, that quick subject change, that quiet avoidance. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's simply that your presence disrupts the surface. In a world that runs on small talk, image, and distraction, deep energy like yours is confronting. You ask real questions, you see things, you don't play along with masks, and for those clinging to the superficial, that's unsettling. Gabor Maté reminds us that many people build entire identities around avoidance. Avoidance of pain, truth, history, emotion. And when someone like you shows up, someone grounded, aware, intense, it shines a light where they don't want to look. They may not name it, but they feel it. And sometimes that discomfort turns into distance. They keep things light with you, or withdraw completely. You've probably wondered, why do I make some people uncomfortable just by being myself? It's because you challenge what they've built to feel safe, not with judgment, just by existing. But here's the reminder. You are not too much. You are not too intense. You are not the problem. You're simply not playing the game. And that's your power. So let them be uncomfortable. That discomfort is a doorway, one they may choose to walk through or not. But it is not yours to carry. Stay rooted. Stay open. Stay real. If you've seen yourself in these signs, it's not a coincidence. You are someone whose energy speaks, even in silence, whose presence heals, even when unnoticed, whose depth unsettles, even when you're simply being yourself. That's not a curse, it's a calling. But let's be honest, it's not easy. Being this sensitive, this present, this emotionally open, it can feel isolating. You carry things others don't see. You feel things others avoid. And sometimes you're blamed for the very truths you reflect. But as Gabor Maté would remind us, your sensitivity is not your weakness. It's your wisdom. It means you've walked through pain and let it transform you. It means you've faced your inner world and refused to turn away. And now, that inner work radiates outward, whether you intend it to or not. So here's what matters now. Protect your energy. You don't need to absorb everyone's emotions. Create boundaries that honor your inner space. Own your impact. Your presence shifts things. Don't downplay it. Don't apologize for it. Use it with awareness. Rest often. Being energetically intense is taxing. You need solitude not because you're weak, but because you're deep. You let go of saving others. You're not here to fix everyone. You're here to be authentic. And that, in itself, is healing. Stay connected to your own truth. Because in a world that fears depth, your courage to feel and be felt is revolutionary. So take this as confirmation. Your inner energy is not accidental. It's not too much. It's your essence, shaped by everything you've lived, lost, loved, and learned. And yes, it affects others. But more importantly, it's what makes you whole. Let it shine. Let it soften. Let it be. Because your presence isn't just intense, it's transformational.